What up, Timus here. Here is my throwback cinema where I talk about the films that turned 10, 20, 30, and 40 this week. Alright, the films celebrating their 10th anniversary, we got the very first Maleficent movie, which of course is a prequel of, if you will, of the iconic Sleeping Beauty. This of course had Angelina Jolie, and it pretty much portrays the story from the perspective of the antagonist. And Jolie obviously was terrific. Elephant was great. I'm always very positive of these Disney live action movies like Lion King. I've enjoyed Jungle Book, but I will admit if I had to choose one of the live action Disney movies, I was not like Disney retellings. I was not a fan of. Maleficent would probably be on the list. I think unpopular to say, I think Little Mermaid was far better, and obviously Cinderella. I was not too big with Maleficent, and the sequel, by the way, is actually worse. Of course, they did do a sequel, Mistress of Evil, back in 2019. It's not so good. Top off, there still talks about possible third one. Who knows if that will actually ever happen or not? But yeah, I mean, of course, Elle Fanning was great. She, of course, played the character of Aurora. Angelina Jolie was terrific, but I just never really got. Yet again, I was never really a big Sleeping Beauty guy. Anyway, I mean, I don't dislike Sleeping Beauty. Don't get me wrong, but if I gotta choose like one, like my least favorite of the Disney animated laws back in like that era, Sleeping Beauty maybe just be on the bottom of that. But Maleficent is still, yeah, just that I was just not a fan of at all. So can't really recommend that. All right, also turning 10, we of course got A Million Ways to Die in the West. Now, this was actually Seth MacFarlane's follow up to 2012's Ted. Now, of course, you guys know Seth MacFarlane is best known for doing shows like Family Guy, American Dad, and this was like pretty much his love letter to stuff like Blazing Saddles and all. While I admit Million Ways to Die in the West was not as funny as, let's say, Ted was, or even Ted 2, I actually still quite enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. You had Liam Neeson, this Charlize Theron. If you guys don't know much about Melway's Die in the West, you also had the likes of Neil Patrick Harris was in this. You also had some fun cameos popping up here and there too. Amanda Seyfried was also in this, and it follows like a cowardly frontiersman who gains like courage with the help of a female gunsfighter, and must use his newfound skills in a confrontation with her villainous outlaw husband. And Liam Neeson, by the way, was hilarious in this. Although he probably was a little more funnier like in his little cameo in Ted 2, which, by the way, I'm actually really excited to see how good he's going to be in the Naked Gun reboot. But Melrose Time was a lot of fun to check out. Seth MacFarlane was pretty decent. It was really cool seeing him like do a live action role instead of, because obviously when you think of Seth MacFarlane, you always just think of him like doing voice roles, whether it's like voicing Peter, Stewie, Ted, and all. So seeing him like actually, in front of the camera instead of voicing character is very intriguing, and I think he did a really good job of this. So yeah, it did not really do too well. Unlike the first Ted, Milway's Star Wars did not really do too well with critics or audiences, but I'm one of the folks who did not mind it so much. So, and come on, you got Gilbert Gottfried as Abraham Lincoln. What more could you ask for? All right, now film turning 20 this week. We got The Day After Tomorrow, directed by Roland Emmerich. This is, of course, based on a book starring the likes of Dennis Quaid, Jake Gyllenhaal, Emmy Russell, who obviously we know as Fiona on Shameless. And the film pretty much depicts the catastrophic climate effects following the disruption of North Atlantic Ocean circulation, in which a series of extreme weather events usher in change and leads to new ice age. And Day After Tomorrow is maybe one of Roland Emmerich's better films. Like lately, he hasn't really put out anything watchable. The last Independence Day was pretty terrible. That World War II movie he did a couple years ago with Woody Harrelson, I think it was called Midway. That was pretty bad. And most recently, he gave us Move For. To be honest, I haven't really enjoyed a Roland Emmerich film since that Stonewall movie he did a couple years ago. But even that was just okay. I mean, I would love to see him get back to stuff like Day After Tomorrow, Independence Day, because he's really great with some of the stuff. But sadly, his stuff lately hasn't really nailed out of the park. But They Have Small is a really decent one. Really like showcase of how serious climate change is, and even South Park even poke fun at Day After Tomorrow. So, yeah, if you guys haven't seen them, I'd say give it a go. All right. Also turning 20, we got Raising Helen. Now, this was directed by Gary Marshall, obviously best known for TV things like Happy Days, Mork and Mindy. But on the film front, he gave us stuff like, Pretty Woman, Overboard, those like holiday movies like Valentine's Day. Raising Helen also stars the likes of Kate Hudson, Joan Cusack, Hayden Panettiere, Spencer Breslin, Abigail Breslin, Felicity Huffman, Larry Miller, Paris Hilton was even in this. It's a Gary Marshall movie, so Hector Elizondo was also in this film too. Because Hector Elizondo and even Larry Miller has always been in lots of Gary Marshall films. Now, if you guys don't know much about the story of Raising Helen, it stars Kay Hudson, who plays a self-involved Helen Harris, who has a driven fashion career and lavish lifestyle in New York City. Helen is also shocked to hear that her sister and brother-in-law had died in a accident, and alarmed that they have named her the guardian of her three kids, who are played by Hayden Panettiere, Spencer Breslin, and Abigail Breslin. And as like the children struggle with change, Helen has to decide whether she'll cling to her old ways or come to terms with her new family route. And this is actually a really charming little film. Of course, Spencer Breslin doesn't really do anything anymore. I still remember Spencer Breslin being in lots of Tim Allen movies like The Santa Claus 2, Zoom. I kid you not. I think it's the Razzie Awards or the some other awards where they actually have a really terrible messed up award called the Spencer Breslin Award, where they honor like the worst kid performances. I'm like, that's not cool. Come on, you don't do that, people. But yeah, it's a shame he doesn't do anything anymore. His sister, by the way, is Abigail Breslin, who you might know from Little Miss Sunshine and on. Of course, this was like before Little Miss Sunshine fame, so it's interesting seeing a very like young, Abigail Breslin in this. You also had like a Joe Cusack was in this. It was a really nice little charming film. We're checking out. All right, also turning 20, we got Saved, which stars the likes of Jenna Malone, which I believe this was actually the movie that really put Jenna Malone on the map for most people. Of course, she would go on to appear in like the Hunger Games sequels, Neon Demon. She's always been a terrific actress. Like, it's a shame she hasn't fully been an A-list star. But this film also had the likes of Macaulay Culkin, Patrick Fugit, Mary Louise Parker, and it follows like the teenager played by Malone, who's of course at a Christian high school, who has an intimate relationship with her boyfriend in an attempt to cure him of being gay here, and she becomes pregnant as a result, and is pretty much ostracized by her schoolmates and it was really cool seeing Macaulay Culkin. It was like it's a shame you don't really see him barely in anything anymore. But he was actually pretty solid in this one. You also had some like Patrick Fugit, who was in like Almost Famous. Speaking of Kate Hudson, by the way. You also had Susan Sarandon's daughter, Eva Murray, was also in this. Mary Louise Parker, Mandy Moore was also in this one. It's a really decent little charming film. Very like it's really more of a dark comedy here, but yeah, really a train there. All right, also turning 20, we got Soul Plane, one of the most classic comedies of the early 2000s. This was actually one of like Kevin Hart's earliest roles before he became as famous as he is now. You also had the likes of Snoop Dogg, Tom Arnold, Lil Jon, Sofia Vergara, D.L. Hughley, um, Rich Terry Crews was in this. If you guys, if you guys don't know much about the story in this, the film revolves around multiple characters in different scenarios on board an airplane, and this is one of the best spec comedies of all time. It definitely has some fun laughs to it. Kevin Hart, seeing him like pretty much before he became as big as he is now, was really a treat to see. Snoop Dogg was always great, so not a bad comedy. It's not a great comedy, but it's definitely one of like one of those comedies that's like so bad it's good, but you just have to watch at least once. So all right, now films that are celebrating its 30th anniversary. We got the live action take of the Flintstones. Now, of course, this stars John Goodman as Fred Flintstone, Rick Moranis as Barney, Halle Berry, of course, was in this, and of course, this was like the live action take of the iconic TV show of the Flintstones. And I actually really always quite enjoy this one. It's definitely a childhood favorite of mine. John Goodman embodied the role of Fred. It's a shame he never really got around to appearing as Fred again in the future. Like I would have at least had him maybe voice the character from time to time, similar how like Matthew Lillard continued to voice Shaggy down the line, but he didn't really even care much for the character, which is a shame too because I always thought he was a great Fred Flintstone. He really played the part perfectly. His chemistry with Rick Moranis was cool. Only thing I was never a fan of, by the way, is probably Rosie O'Donnell as Betty. I don't know why. I still could never buy her as Betty. That was maybe one of the most miscast roles ever. Like I don't just unlike Trump, I don't dislike Rosie O'Donnell at all. But yeah, I was never too big with Rosie O'Donnell. It's like I never even bought her chemistry with Rick Moranis for some reason. Also, you had Elizabeth Taylor was also in this. There's a lot of fun to have with this. I mean, come on, who? It was of course also one of like Halle Berry's earliest roles, and let's be for real, lots of people. This was actually like before Catwoman came in. This was the movie that made a lot of people really crush on Halle Berry, right? So yeah. All right. Um, when top off, Steven Spielberg was also a producer on this, and I like how they actually named him. I can't remember what the name is. Steven Spielberg or something like that. I mean, the advertisements was pretty cool. They even had like even McDonald's advertised this movie. Like, obviously, I was a little young at the time when this came out, but if you actually read upon some of the cool early advertisements for the Flintstones, highly recommend. There's some really cool advertisements there. All right, and of course, obviously, later on we would get another Flintstones live action, which was Viva Rock Vegas, which I don't hate as most people do, but all right. Now, also turning 30, we got Beverly Hills Cop 3, which is interesting because like the fourth one is obviously coming out pretty soon there. So of course, like it's been 30 years since we last saw Axel Foley, so now we got him coming back again for Netflix here. Now, so many people really dislike Beverly Hills Cop 3, which I admit it is maybe the weakest out of the franchise, but it's actually not as bad as most people make it out to be. This time around, of course, you have Axel Foley once again played by Eddie Murphy, who once again like returns to Beverly Hills and teams up with Detective Billy Rosewood, played by Jack Reinhardt, to stop a gang of counterfeit felters at a local amusement park called Wonder World. And also really funny how like in Beverly Hills Cop 3 like the pretty much the price of a ticket to Disney World was very less compared now. So yeah, that's pretty much one of the most unbelievable things about this film. So yeah. By the way, when Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley comes out, I will be doing my reviews for the Beverly Hills Cop movies, so keep your eye out for them. All right. Now the film celebrating their 40th anniversary. We got the Sergio Leone film Once Upon a Time in America. I used to always thought this was a Martin Scorsese film for some reason, like maybe because De Niro's in it and all. But I used to always thought it was like a Scorsese film because definitely obviously the Italian stuff, the mafia based stuff, but it is of course directed by Sergio Leone, who obviously is best known for like directing those Clint Eastwood westerns and all like spaghetti westerns. So seeing him like do a mafia film like this was a dream, see. Now, this film also had the likes of Robert De Niro, James Woods. Who else was in this? It's been a while since I've seen this one. Oh yeah, Elizabeth McGrony. You also had Joe Pesci, which hence reason why Yeah, I think almost everyone else that always starts this was a Scorsese film because obviously De Niro, Joe Pesci was in this. James Wood, who I believe worked with Scorsese a couple times, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, Now, if you guys don't know much about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Hollywood, Once Upon a Time in America, I might say, it is an Italian American film and chronicles the lives of best friends David Noodles Arson and Maximum Max Berkowitz. I can never pronounce his name, so my bad. As they lead a group of Jewish ghetto youths who rise to prominence as Jewish gangsters in New York City's world's organized crime. And of course, the chemistry between De Niro and James Woods was really great. Sergio Leone did a really good job with this. I mean, he's obviously one of the most iconic filmmakers of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and all. And lots of directors today will tell you that they were always influenced by Sergio Leone's work. And this is a really intriguing film if you guys ever seen that. All right, also training for you. We got Star Trek 3: The Search for Spock. Now, of course, this is the third installment of the Star Trek films. Of course, this was a follow up uh, of course, Khan and all. Now the Wrath of Khan, I must say. And of course, it was like after the death of Spock, played by the late great Larry Nimoy, the crew of USS Enterprise returned to Earth when James Kirk, played by William Shatner, learns that Spock's spirit or Qatar is held in the mind of Dr. Leonard Bones McCoy, played by DeFrost Kelly, and Kirk and company steals pretty much decommission USS Enterprise to return Spock's body to the home world. You also have Christopher Lloyd, who plays the role of Courage, which, hey, adding Christopher Lloyd in anything is always a given. While, of course, this is not as good as, let's say, Wrath of Khan, it's still a really decent Star Trek follow up. Of course, the first Star Trek movie was already back in like 19 was released all the way back in like 1970s. Then of course we also get Voyage Home. I mean, there's a lot of Star Trek movies out there, so yeah. But Starting for Spock is really a intriguing one. I mean, Leonard Nimoy as Spock, iconic right there. So, all right. Now, also turning 40. Speaking of Rick Moranis, by the way, we got Streets of Fire. Now, Streets of Fire also stars the likes of Michael Pereira, William Defoe, E.J. Kelly, the late great Bill Paxton, and follows ex-soldiers Tom Cody, played by Pereira, and McCoy, played by Madigan, as they embark on a mission to rescue Cody's ex-girlfriend, Ellen Aim, played by Diane Lane, who was kidnapped by Raven Shattuck, played by William Defoe, the leader of an outlaw motorcycle gang called the Bombers. And of course, the always great Rick Moranis in this. I really would love to see Rick Moranis make a comeback. He was one of the most iconic actors of the '80s, and he's always amazing. Who does love Rick Moranis? And Streets of Fire was not like the best film he's been in. It's a really intriguing one. This movie was also directed by Walter Hill, who is best known for directing movies like The Warriors, 48 Hours. Speak of Eddie Murphy. And again, this is not his best work either, but it's a really intriguing one. Great performances by William Dafoe. Like William Dafoe playing a villain is always a given, and yeah, of course, the like '80s effects in this was really cool. If you guys haven't seen the poster, really iconic there. So not a bad '80s gem. But that's pretty much it. Let me leave you guys. Which of these films stand out to you the most? To me, the 10-year one is of course going to go to A Million Ways to Die in the West. The 20-year one, even though it's not a great film, I'm going to go with Soul Plane. That actually stands out to me the most there. Like, Soul Plane is not a great film, but it's actually a lot of fun if you watch it. 30-year one, obviously going to go to the Flintstones. And the 40-year one is going to go to Once Upon a Time in America. Anyway, drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Simon Sign.